welcome to the show. You know what we do? We bring you on. We talk about the prospects. Typically highlighting two hitters, two pitchers. You let the chat down a little bit last week.
Did I?
Who are we going to talk about this week?
Who can talk? I guess we got to talk about McAdoo, right?
Yes, that's what I was waiting for.
Okay, so did I let the chat down, or did I let you down? Did I let you down?
A little bit of both.
Okay.
There is some real McAdoo fever going on right now because this guy has been electric.
For very good reasons. I mean, he's probably, I would imagine, going to lock up another Player of the Week thing in the South Atlantic League, unless someone else went just as crazy with him. But he picked up 11 hits in like 5 or 6 games, 2 doubles, 2 triples, a home run, drove in 12 just last week alone. So he's batting like 344, 423, 575, OPS of right at 1,000 right now on the season. So
very nice.
Yeah. Noel and I make jokes in our group chat that like they're trying to lock up a playoff spot for Greensboro in the first half, and then after that they're just going to send McAdoo up, which is good news because the first half of the high A season technically ends middle of this week. So
cool.
And Greensboro won 5 of 6, so they put themselves in pretty good position to lock themselves up into a playoff spot for the first half of the season. So maybe we'll start seeing some movement now. But yeah, McAdoo, I know I've said this before. He was a guy I wasn't trying to get too excited with until he hit like AA. But it's kind of hard not to be excited with what he's doing right now. Was it Baseball America kind of highlighted him a little bit, talking about like he has the of hitters in the minors with his exit velocity numbers, like 90th percentile. He has the best contact rate out of anyone with like a 90th percentile of 108 or higher. So he's not only hitting the ball really hard, but he's also making like a really good contact as well. So
that's good stuff. That's good to hear.
Yeah,
like where I'm at with him is I think I talked about 2 weeks ago, when we first mentioned him again. It's just like he got signed to the organization. Like he just, from the very first week, the very first few games, like how electric the stuff was, what you're seeing him do, McAdoo fever began. And like, I'm with you. Like, of course, realize his age, realize where he's at, right?
Yeah.
Things don't truly matter. Like when you talk about prospects, I think a lot of people, if they carry this mindset, once they hit AA, then that's when you really start paying attention to what they're doing. I get all that. But like, you can just still be excited because this is exciting. And there's not a whole lot going on in the minors, especially hitting wise, to be excited about. So like what McAdoo is doing, it's exciting stuff. This is definitely very interesting. And like you're talking about, like, it's not even like a hit a game. He's basically getting like 2 hits a game.
Yeah.
His like multi-hit games are as much as like some actual players getting hits in games for the Pittsburgh Pirates today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just, and like watching him too, like you sit down and really watch him, it's like the stuff looks like it's gonna translate like beyond high A as well, because like he adjusts to the breaking pitches really well. He hit a home run on the first pitch he saw last week, the very first pitch. It was like a curveball on the outer half. He like held up and adjusted the swing mid pitch and drove it straight over the left field wall for a home run. It was that kind of stuff is like, yeah, the home run is nice, but like what he did in the lead up to like the home run, it wasn't like he was trying to sell out and he was over swinging and he was jumping on this first pitch fastball or stuff like that. He made a legitimate adjustment that you want to see out of legitimate hitting prospects. And I think slowly I've started to like, I'll fully buy in like he does this at AA and beyond. But I think I've bought in even more than what I wanted myself to do, just because seeing little stuff like that. Like we could look at his numbers and the numbers are nice and, like, oh, well, look, he's hitting really good here and this stuff like that. But it's like the little mechanical adjustments that he's shown an ability to make that really, I feel like, is putting him on the right path to be a legitimate prospect now in the system.
Now that's interesting. That's certainly interesting.
So it's not like the Matt Gorski who just, I'm swinging for the fences every single time. And because he's swinging for the fence every single time, he hits 10 home runs in a week in Greensboro because it's Greensboro.
Right.
This is I made a really good adjustment on a really good pitch, and because I'm a better hitter than the guy was the pitcher, I took advantage of it, kind of thing. So
Cool. No, that's good to hear too. Because like you said, like it is first off, it is Greensboro also. The
yeah,
power is just easy to come by in that sense.
yeah,
But right, like he has the power, but he also has the batting average, right? Like he's batting 344, but he has 9 home runs, 4 triples, and 14
12 stolen.
doubles in 57 games.
He's 12 stolen bases too. Like he's 12 of 15 on stolen base attempts too.
Yeah.
So and watching him like run the bases on his triple too, he got around the bases like pretty quick, a lot quicker than I would think for like a guy with like his profile and stuff like that. He got around the bases like really quick, and so like it was kind of like, okay, well these 12 stolen bases kind of make sense here. So I mean he's clearly going to have like double digits on both by the end of the year. Like if he makes it up to Altoona and the power like translates, and like the exit velocity numbers say that it should translate as long as he continues to make contact. It's not like Cheng last year to where it's like, okay, well, we kind of know this isn't like for real kind of thing. Like he's
Right.
hitting the ball hard enough to where it's like, okay, well, this should play at any ballpark now. It's just a matter of, are these swing decisions and swing adjustments going to work against the next level of pitching?
Cool. That's good stuff to hear. So there's a very good likelihood that within the next few weeks, the promotion's probably coming.
I can't imagine that they like at this point now, like as fun as it's to him to watch him hit 5 or 6 extra base hits a week in high A and stuff like that. It it comes a point to where it's not really doing anything for him by
Right.
doing that. And
That's
like you could make a very, if you make the argument that like it's way past that, like I probably would sell into that very easily, that like he's way past that point. But like I can I don't see how this doesn't happen soon for him.
okay. That's good. No, that's what I wanted to hear because yeah, this doesn't seem challenging to him anymore. You know, we're talking it's like almost the Paul Skeens where it's just like I'm well above you guys and I'm just
Yeah.
dominating and it just shows at this
Mhm.
point. So, being 22 years old, it would be nice to see him, in double A challenge him at least a little bit here. And again, like now you're starting to see like, is this for real or not? Because if Charles McAdoo can be a guy for this organization, that's going to be huge because, we talked about the pitching a lot.
Yeah.
We talk about how they've
Mhm.
developed these guys, this pitching factory, if you want to call it,
Yeah.
but it's not the case for the hitting. So like if McAdoo could be a guy,
And
that's really cool because it's like he's not that far away either. He's 22
no,
years old. If he's reaching
no.
double A, here the second half of the season, he's close.
Yeah. Yeah. And he's played like another one of the things for Moose too. It's like I was never sure of where he was going to play like defensively, and he's played a lot of third base this year, and he's actually looked a lot better defensively than like I kind of imagined he would. So that was kind of always the like, where is he going to play? Is he just going to end up being like a first baseman kind of thing? And that kind of changes a lot of stuff, because like that puts that much added pressure on the bat to come through and to
Right.
translate up there. But he's looked pretty good in third. He had a couple plays out in the outfield today that was kind of like, like misjudged a couple balls, and the throw in wasn't great. But like also too, like I don't think he's played there as much as like he has in the infield. So there is some like versatility there. Drafted as a second baseman. He played second base in college. He played a little first last year in Bradenton. Been playing mainly third base, a lot more now because Jack Brannigan's on the injured list. So he's kind of been the guy at third. And then they threw him out there in right field for a game. So there is some versatility there, and he's definitely held his own there more than I thought he would. So
Good stuff.
that helps raise the floor a little bit more if you know that he can play multiple positions and stuff like that. It takes a little bit pressure off the bat because you could kind of move him around and stuff like that. Makes him kind of more of a fit as like a utility player in like a worst case scenario kind of thing.
Cool. Good
So
stuff. Well, there you go, everyone. There's your Charles McAdoo information.
yeah,
So now you have to go read the Bucs on Deck substack. That's the requirement to hear the Charles McAdoo information here.
That's
so make sure you do that. All right. So who's next on the list?
So I don't know if John Drecker listens to the show, but just in case, I have to say the nickname in first with it. But Ralph Kiner Delgado had himself a had himself a pretty solid week, and I know it's been a little bit since we talked about him. I think the last time we talked about him was when I was in Florida. So
yeah,
because I was there, it was his first week in the system and stuff like that. So he got off to that really good start, hit a couple home runs and stuff like that. The power's kind of like cooled off a bit since then, but that has given him a little bit of a chance to like show like the speed. I think the speed was the thing that a lot of people were excited about. Even when I talked to like Jim Horner, the Bradenton manager, he made like a joke about like wanting to see Delgado stop hitting home runs just so you can see him steal bases and stuff
right.
like that.
Yeah, you did say that.
Yeah, because that was like the big thing about him when they got him. So he had a pretty good week, hit a couple extra base hits. He had a big triple in the game on Sunday, walked 5 times. I think that was another thing too that I kind of wanted to see from him. He looked like he was a little aggressive at the plate. He was, swinging, not maybe trying to draw some walks. He drew 5 walks last week, stole a base. He has, and for a guy who's like I don't think he's going to be a big home run hitter because the frame is kind of small. He can hit the ball harder than what I think we all kind of expected. But he does have 12 extra bases in 34 games in the Pirate system, and then on top of that, he's also stolen 11 bases. So nice little power speed combo right there. He's played some pretty solid defenses as well. It's been a really good addition at the top of the lineup for Bradenton on there, and he was able to kind of flash both the speed and the power this past week.
Interesting. Yeah, he was part of the JT Brubaker return, and at least for me, this is something I'm going to be monitoring that return because not to go into too much detail, but I kind of I question a little bit the JT Brubaker trade, the time of it, why doing it now? So here's the return, and again, okay, well, for that return, this guy, there's some definitely intrigue with him. You mentioned the power and speed combination, but I'm also wondering too. You talk about defense. How do you think that's looking? Is this the guy that's going to stick or what?
He's probably a second baseman. Like by the time you get all the way up there, he's played pretty well at shortstop. He's shown some good range. Has a pretty decent arm. I just don't think it's going to play like once he gets to the higher levels and stuff like that. But he's been. I think I read something about. I don't think it was like on BA or anything like that. I read something else to where like someone did not like his defense at all, and I haven't seen that yet. Like he made a couple good plays in Bradenton when I was down there. He's made a lot of just very solid plays for. I mean, maybe you never know kind of thing. Maybe he just keeps playing the higher he goes up. But I still see him as kind of like a second base guy going forward.
Cool. But yeah, so far in Bradenton, 242, 320, 324, 411. Like you said, the power speed combination is certainly there. Excuse me. And the walks are, it's not as if the guy doesn't get on base at all.
Yeah.
So some intrigue, 20 years old, Ralph Kiner Delgado. I like it.
Make sure you add that, or John Drecker will come get you.
Right. Okay. Cool. So I guess let's go to the pitching side then. Who do you want to talk about for the pitchers?
So first guy I'll bring up is on the AA staff. He made the double start this past week. Thomas Harrington had a pretty good week. I think Harrington kind of like lead off on there because I know a lot of people were upset about some of the defense in the majors in Colorado. Like the defense didn't play overly great, and they haven't been overly great this season. It isn't much different down in the minors. There's been a lot of frustrating games to watch sometimes, and it's kind of costed some of the pitching like really good games and stuff like that. Like there's a couple like Bubba's last start on Saturday, I think it was going really well, and then he gave up a couple hits, and then there was a defensive play that definitely should have been made that wasn't, and they didn't charge it for an error, and like things went completely downhill for him. So it's been a lot of that in the minors, and Harrington was kind of suffered from that a little bit on his first start because he gave up 6 runs, but only one of them was earned. So there's been a lot of there's. I mean, he did give up 10 hits over 5 innings too, so he was letting a lot of guys get on. But then like the damage was really done after like a couple errors and stuff like that. Really turned it around on Sunday. He only gave up 1 hit over 5 innings and struck out 5. So it's not often that you see the Pirates let the starter that are doing the Tuesday Sunday thing pitch too deep into the game on Sundays. But he was just pitching so well and so efficient and stuff like that. So he finished the whole week with 10 innings, only gave up the 1 earned run, and then 10 strikeouts as well. So really good start. Yeah. Someone that I've been really high on too, and he's pitching really well so far in Double-A. It's frustrating because like the Altoona broadcast used to have like the velocity readings in like the little broadcast, the little overlay or whatever you want to call it, and it doesn't have it anymore. So it's been hard to kind of gauge where he's been at velocity wise. There was a tweet I saw where it was like the velocity was looking like it was up a little bit from the year prior. So that's good, but there's really no way to tell at the moment.
Cool. Yeah, like he's definitely, I feel like obviously this Paul Skeens, right? Then you've heard like your Bubba Chandlers, Anthony Salametos. Like there's definitely been some pitching, but there's a lot of underrated pitchers in this organization that don't get talked about too much. Harrington certainly fits the bill. And I think Tyler is actually a real big Harrington guy as well, like going back from last year. So yeah, I mean, he is doing what you asked for, what you hope to see at this point in time, as far as results wise. Also, even with that bad start, as you mentioned, like a 3.13 ERA, a 1.04 WHIP.
There was and there was some talk, because on the site we did our midseason update for our top 25 list. There was some debate that we had talked about who because obviously Paul Skeens is the number 1 prospect, but he's only a couple of weeks away probably from graduating. So there was actually some talk about who we were going to have at the number 2 spot, who would eventually kind of take over as the top prospect in the system. And we did talk about Harrington being the number 2 guy, just because of the higher floor right now that we feel that he has compared to like a Bubba Chandler and stuff like that. So there was like I kind of debated back and forth between Chandler and Harrington. I know Nola and like what else, we all had that. Chandler ended up being our number 2 prospect with it, but I think it was pretty close to the point to where we almost had Harrington as the number 2 prospect in the system.
I think that's kind of important. Again, that kind of just shows like the type of prospect he is. I mean, we know the ceiling that Bubba Chandler possesses, and you were talking about even like, is he on the level of Paul Skeens? Like especially like the fastball and such. Like that's what he possesses, is this type of talent. But the floor, which is also important, is something that like is Chandler maybe even a reliever at the end of the day. Whereas like Thomas Harrington, like you're talking like he not going to announce anything at this point in time, right? But like you look at him and you can say, I can see him being a starter at the major league level, at least at this point in time. So I think it's important for people to hear that. I think a lot of people understand and know who Bubba Chandler is, and you're here debating, is Thomas Harrington actually, respected and well enough to be higher on the rankings? So yeah, like certainly a guy to keep your eye out on. All right, and who's the last guy?
So there's actually a couple, like Bradenton had some like really good starters and stuff like that. Even I thought about, like, I know everyone likes to bring up the Josh Bell trade. Eddie Dean is actually pitching pretty good in Altoona right now out of the bullpen. But one guy I wanted to highlight, I don't think I've talked about him yet. He's a guy that I had a chance to talk to the Bradenton manager about down there, but Antoine Kelly's is starting to kind of figure things out a little bit more down there. His last start, he struck out 8 over 6 innings, only gave up a run. I think he's only given up he's only given up a couple earned runs over his last 3 or 4 starts. He's one of the guys that's like kind of learning how to pitch compared to just throw. He has like a really good fastball. Horner said that like he got in a lot of situations last year in the complex league to where he would just try to overthrow the ball, and it would lead to a lot of walks and pitches out. And they've really tried to, just like the fastball is really good. Just focus on getting it at the top of the strike zone and then just letting everything else kind of play along with it. Like he has a really good changeup. The changeup has just really come along to where it's working really well off the fastball. He'll hit the fastball at the top of the strike zone. Changeup will tail away. There's a cutter slider with it. Someone that's like probably has a lot of work to kind of do and stuff like that. But when you talk about like now, like we talk about the pitching factory with the Pirates and stuff like that, and what they're able to do. You're it's easier to kind of project like pitchers like this, maybe kind of putting things together now that they're in the Pirate system more so than maybe like in years prior, or more so like in different, like if he was in a different system, maybe it's like, okay, well, he's just like a really nice arm, like, but like, is he going to figure it out? But now with we've seen what the Pirates are able to do, maybe they're able to get some of these international signings and stuff like that to start to click and stuff like that. And he has, for a lot of the pitchers that I've seen in the lower levels, he has some of the better stuff, like better raw, pure stuff, kind of stuff that I've seen.
Okay. I'm also still trying to get used to that and adjust, by the way, when you're talking about the Pirates pitching
Yeah, yeah,
system here, right? Like it
you're doing
feels
something
good that
right.
they're in the Pirate system. I still take a deep breath. I'm like, that's right. The Pirates are producing pitchers these days. Um, but yeah, looking at that's interesting. Certainly a name that I don't think we've ever talked about. Antoine Kelly, 20 years old from Aruba.
Yep.
And
He pitched in the World Baseball Classic for the Netherlands, I believe. And he came out there, and it came in an inning of relief, and it was a pretty good inning of relief. Like he was pumping 94, 95 with the fastball and stuff like that. And it was a really good inning. And I believe, if I remember correctly, it was a pretty high leverage situation too that they put him in. So, but he has one of the he's one of the better arms down there, and like there's a lot of guys down there. And the Pirates have a guy who's hitting 100 right now down in the complex, but like he can't hit the strike zone to save his life. So like a lot of people have like arm talent down in the lower levels. His stands out because like the overall thing, and you kind of seen the progress that he's made throughout the year, becoming more of a pitcher, learning how to set things up, learning how the pitches work off of each other and stuff like that, and the number, like I'm sure if you kind of break down like the numbers, like the month-to-month numbers and stuff like that, you'll probably see a little bit of improvement and stuff like that. But it's like he's one of those guys that's like, okay, let's let him do his thing, and then at the end of the year, we'll kind of sit back and see how everything progressed and stuff like that.
Yeah. No, I kind of support that. We look at, and these are just numbers, results. I don't have the insight you have, but he starts off the year 3 earned run, 7 earned run, 3 earned run. And then his past 4 starts, 0, 1, 2, 1. So if you're talking about things clicking, certainly results wise, it seems to be clicking for him as well. Strikeouts are up too. So, back-to-back starts, 7 strikeouts, 8 strikeouts, just 1 walk in each of them. So good stuff. Good stuff. Maybe Antoine Kelly, next man up.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of guys like that down there. And like I said, you're more inclined to believe that a pitcher is going to kind of just solve things now in the system than anything else. So
right. Well, cool. Well, good stuff. So there's your 4. There's your 2 batters, 2 pitchers. Anyone else, just real quick, you just wanted to highlight, maybe an honorable mention?
Braxton Ashcraft looked pretty good in his AAA debut, and maybe
Pirates
instead of
reliever
running
then,
2
right?
bullpen games, maybe instead of running 2 bullpen games, maybe we could just put an actual starter there, and that would be easier.
So I'll say this, okay? Because I know we differed a little bit, and I think Jim and I kind of feel the same way to the degree. It's like if you have limited innings, why not put them in the bullpen where this team is needed? You've been hammering, I feel like, even harder this week on Twitter. I've been seeing it.
Yeah.
Right? This is why he's a starter. This is why he's a starter, right? I'll say this. Then use them there. I think my biggest problem is there is a finite amount of innings. So how do you maximize that finite amount of innings for the Pirates where they could use those innings? I would be on board with that because we're seeing more of that. Like if he was here on Sunday, which, by the way, like again, Josh Fleming did his thing. So in hindsight, it worked. But I wouldn't mind seeing that.
Do you really want Josh Fleming to consistently?
No.
Yeah. See. So the bullpen thing worked really well this weekend. against the Colorado Rockies. Against the Colorado Rockies.
Correct.
So I get it, and I think what it comes down to is like just how many innings Ashcraft has left. I think it's a little bit higher than what maybe a lot of people are thinking. I think if you can get him to about like 110, maybe even close to 120, that's still plenty of time to get him 10 starts in the majors kind of thing, and then maybe kind of scale him back. So he only needed 72 pitches to get through that 6 innings in AAA. Like that's being able to save the bull. Like, the best way to not have to use your middle relievers is just have a starter that can go 6 or 7 innings, and he's a guy who can go 6 or 7 innings. And I don't know, and then wind him down in September, and throw him into the bullpen then if you have to, or just shut him down completely after he did his job and saved everyone else's arms and stuff like that, and he's one of your starters going into next year and stuff like that. So I get it. And if you were to tell me he only had like 80 innings, 80 to 90 innings this season or something like that, first off, I'd say they did a horrible job at managing his innings. Because then you put him in a position where you have to put him in a bullpen just to have him last the entire season. But if that's the case, then I guess that's the only way to do it. But I don't think we're looking at 80 to 90 innings from him this year. So
cool. Yeah, good stuff. Again, this is a little debate. But if he's going to give you like 10 starts in the majors, I would sign up for that all day long. I would just literally on that. I'll say this: if he just stays in AAA, then it's a failure.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's got to come up at some point and give.
He threw like 11 changeups. He threw like 11, 12 changeups, and remember that's the thing that I've said that I wanted to see more of. I don't know. Right. So I literally saw the one thing I wanted to see. They weren't all great, but some of them were okay. They were enough to he doesn't have to throw it. If he throws it 2 or 3 times in a game with his other pitches, I think that'll be fine. He showed me the only thing he needs to show. The controls still work there. I don't think there's anything he needs to do in the minors at this point.
Well, I like hearing that though. I like hearing that. I like hearing he's ready because his time's probably coming soon. So cool. Well, Anthony, once again, appreciate it. Go ahead and plug all your stuff again where people can find you.
Bucs On Deck Substack. We like I mentioned earlier, we released our midseason update for the top 25 prospects. We're also running a 20% off a yearly subscription right now, so sign up for that so you get access to all the list and all our other premium stuff. I do a lot of video breakdowns of the prospects and stuff like that. Some player features I got from while I was in Bradenton. On Twitter, I talk pretty much just baseball. I try to make little sarcastic life comments here and there at Twitter, _Murphy88. And that's pretty much it.
There you go. Well, again, as always, appreciate it. We'll see you next week.